Dear students of BA Part 3rd doing their honors in English, wish you at first a very warm, sunny, pleasant, healthy and hilarious good morning to you people all. Dear students or friends, today is 5th of August and it's a very important day today. You all know why this day is so important. Today is a great day because we have the Bhumi Pujan of Ram Mandir at Ayodhya. And at the time when I am preparing a video for you to teach you or to make you understand the great poem written by Isaac Rosenberg, Break of the Day in the Trenches, that process of Bhumi Pujan at Ayodhya is going on. Of course, we all Indians, particularly the Hindus, were waiting anxiously for a long period of 500 years. Now, dear students, that is a different thing. It has nothing to do with the poem here. Simply, I have expressed my feelings as a citizen of India, and of course, it's a great day. Dear students, that particular day, near about in my last video, I have started discussing a poem that is Break of the Day in the Trenches. And that particular day, I have just tried to make a background or make a platform for the proper understanding of this great and highly reflective and suggestive poem. In that lecture of mine, I have emphasized upon the futility of war. War, as you all know this fact very well, is a futile thing, is a futile effort. It is not at all necessary because it never solves any problem. It is never constructive. It is always destructive. It annihilates life. It has no power to sustain life. It has no power to create life, to foster life, to preserve life, to sustain life. War kills, it destroys, it annihilates, it sheds blood. Therefore, there should not be war upon this earth. We must try to solve the problem by sitting together with a peaceful mind. And definitely, if we try to solve any problem with utmost sincerity, problems are bound to be solved. Now we should come to the poem. The poem, as I have discussed it in my previous video, the poem plays back and forth with the idea of life and death. If you go through the poems of a particular phase, that means, I have to say, if you go through the war poetry, you know, war poetry has been divided into two groups. One group speaks very high of war, and that group is led by Rupert Brooke. And Rupert Brooke, simply he adores war, simply he speaks high of war, just because it is not that he is very much impressed that war plays a very creative role, or war is very constructive, war solves problems, therefore he speaks high of war. It's not the case. He speaks high or good of war just because war provides the opportunity to show one's patriotism. War provides a chance for sacrificing one's life on the altar of nation. The other group of war poetry, which is led by Rosenberg, Isaac Rosenberg, Wilfred Owen, and some others, denounce war, or rather denounces war. This group, or the poets of this group, speak very ill of war. They are not at all impressed that war provides the chance of sacrifice, or the chance to show one's patriotism. All these things have no role to play. These things fail to impress these poets, and they simply speak very ill of war. They criticize war just because war takes life. Life is very costly. It is very important. It must be preserved. It must be fostered. We have been sent upon this earth to lead a happy, hilarious and healthy and handsome life. We have not been sent upon this earth to kill and get killed. We must keep positivity in our mind. We must be positive. But here, in this corona period, it is very dangerous to be positive. And here, dear friends, I remember one of the films, and I think that film is No Entry. And in that particular film, there are so many heroes. Fardeen Khan is there, Anil Kapoor is there, heroine Bipasha Basu is there, and some more heroines are there. I failed to remember all the names. So Anil Kapoor in that film is in the habit of speaking a particular line or phrase, be positive. Every time, whenever he gets a chance to talk to someone, at the end of his talk, he says, be positive. Be positive. Later on, the fact gets revealed that he has nothing to say with be positive, in the sense that he is an optimist, or he always keeps positive attitude to life, it is revealed that it is his blood group, B positive. So here also in corona period, if someone knows about you that you are positive, you are going to be sidelined, you can say. You are going to be inched out. You will have to pay the price for your positivity. So, I hope God must be kind enough to all of us not to be positive in this sense in this particular corona period. Now, by the way, we should come to the poem, we should come to the point after some diversion. So, I was telling you, life is very costly. And once a man is dead, life can't be injected in that corpse. Once a man is dead, and he is dead, the body changes into a corpse. And now there is no system, there is no medicine, there is no pathological system which can change that corpse into a living identity. Dear students, here I must make one thing clear, that death is certain. This is the very reality of life, that one who is born has to die. This is the truth, not only of the living identity, this is the truth for the non-living identity also. Nothing is permanent here. And life never ends. You might have read one of the poems of Lord Tennyson. I am forgetting the name of the poem, but in that poem, Tennyson says, man comes and goes, but the brook of life always goes on. And I remember now that the title of that particular poem is The Brook. The brook goes on. So life is just like the brook, just like the river. It flows on. Man comes, man goes. Man arrives, man departs. So life is very costly. Death is certain. The poet is of this view that death should be natural. Let death come at its appointed time. Let a man die his natural death. Death must not be created. It must not be sponsored, as it happens in the case of war. What happens in the war? In war, death is distributed. War means death. War means killing and getting killed. War means victory or failure, victory or defeat, success and failure, victory and defeat. One group will certainly win and the other has to lose. But in the process of this winning and losing, thousands of lives are sacrificed. It should not be there. And this poem has also been written in the same perspective, in the same background, in the same backdrop. Now, we should come to the poem. Please turn your book, and the book is Faber Book of Modern Poetry, and turn to page number 161. And here you will find out this beautiful, suggestive, thought-provoking and reflective poem, that is Break of Day in the Trenches by Isaac Rosenberg. This poem was published in 1916, and in that video I have told you, or here also once again I am reminding you, that Isaac Rosenberg was also a soldier. He has taken part in the First World War. First World War has been fought between the period from 1914 up to 1918, and in this war so many countries have taken part. There were two groups, and here the two groups, two opposite groups, two opponent groups are England and Germany. The poet here in the poem is himself a soldier. He has the first-hand experience of war. He has observed war. He has lived war. He has felt war. He has seen war. He has breathed war. He has eaten war, you can say, and he has drunk war. He has seen death dancing in the battleground, in the battlefield. He has seen the dead bodies. He has seen the living identities changing into corpse, changing into dead things. He has seen the body falling, becoming corpses. Here, the poet is in the battleground, and he is hiding himself in one of the trenches. Trenches are the deep holes which are dug, particularly in battlefield or battleground, where the soldiers hide themselves. They remain there. They get the head or the roof of those trenches covered with flowers, with grass or grass-like things, just to hide their identities, just to doze, just to deceive the opponent, the opposite group. Here the poet is in the trench. Early in the morning, he simply pulls the makeshift roof of the parapet or of the trenches. When he is doing so, it is the time of daybreak. It is the early morning. It is the period of dawn, D-A-W-N, not D-O-N, which some of you are. Some of you think that some of you are dawns. Dawn, of course, dawn is always not negative. You might be a dawn in the field of study also. You might be a dawn in the field of social service also. So don't think that dawn is always a word giving the negative meaning or negative sense. It's not that. So don't worry, dear students. If I have told you that some of you think yourself as dawns, be happy. Go on smiling. So it's the time of daybreak. Early in the morning, very early. Most of us or most of you have seen it. I am fortunate enough to have this rather every day because I am an early riser and I get a chance to see this daybreak. It looks very lovely. Now, only the blind can know the importance of eyes. The thirsty can know the importance of water. Hungry can say the importance of hunger. Likewise, a person who has to spend his night or rather day in the trench or in the darkness of the trench can only express or say his feelings of daybreak. The poet, who is a soldier here, gets a view of the beautiful dawn, beautiful daybreak from his trench. Therefore, the poem is break of day, दिन का फुटना, दिन का निकलना, सूर्योदय के पहले का समय है. It is the sun has not risen. The process of sun rising is going on. It is going on inside. अंदर अंदर हो रहा, अंदर अंदर चल रहा. The process of sunrise. Inside the horizon, you can say. क्षितिज के अंदर प्रोसेस चल रहा है. But the sun has not peeped out. It's that particular time. Daybreak. Now come to the poem. See the lines minutely and try to understand it. I will try my level best to decode. As I have told so many times, poetry is a coded language, and while understanding the poem, a reader has to decode it. Teachers, professors, critics help the readers to decode that coded language of a particular poem. So here don't think I am trying to teach you this poem. No, I can't teach. Simply, I am trying to decode it. I am trying to guide it. I am trying to guide you to have some understanding of this particular poem. The darkness crumbles away when the poet soldier or when the soldier poet simply pulls the parpet's poppy, you can say, it is given here in the poem. he is lucky, or he was lucky to see the daybreak. Therefore, he says the darkness, andhera, darkness. Darkness is just like my face, you can know. The darkness crumbles away, crumble, टूटना, बिखरना. जो अंधेरा है वो बिखर रहा है, टूट रहा है, जा रहा है, खत्म हो रहा है. Crumbles away, bit by bit, gradually, slowly and slowly. धीरे धीरे अंधेरा, इसको कह सकते अंधेरा छट रहा है. तो when अंधेरा छट्स, जब अंधेरा छटता है तो बट नेचुरल है, देयर विल बी द अराइवल ऑफ लाइट. इट इज द एरो ऑफ लाइट विच किल्स darkness. It is the light which removes the darkness. So it is the same process is here. The darkness crumbles away. It is the same old durid time as ever. The poet says that there is nothing strange or peculiar regarding the crumbling of darkness. It is not happening today. It is not happening for the first time. It happens every day. It is the rule of the earth. It takes place every day. There is stipulated time every day for the rising of the sun and for the setting of the sun. The earth goes on moving in its diurnal course, and that moving of the earth in the diurnal course changes day into night, and once again night into the day, and the process is on. What is peculiar here? That the poet who is a soldier is witnessing it today while sitting in his trench. It differentiates here. It is the peculiarity of the day, particular or that particular day. So the darkness crumbles away. It is the same old durid time as ever. Only a live thing lifts my hand, a queer sardonic rat. The poet is watching the bewitching daybreak. Bewitching, बहुत सुंदर, सम्मोहक, आकर्षक, as the faces of some of you are. Bewitching face, arresting face, that is तेरे चेहरे से नजर ना हटती, नजारे हम क्या देखें. So just like that face you can say. So the poet is watching the daybreak, which is very arresting, bewitching, attractive, magnetic. In between, a rat leaps over his hand, jumps over his hand, touching his hand. For a particular moment, for some time, for a second you can say, the poet goes perplexed. The poet goes surprised. The poet goes might get fear stricken or panicked. Oh, what has touched? And he gets a look of the rat. And it was the only living thing. The poet watches there. Only a live thing lips. Live L, lips L. So alliteration of L sound. More often than not, I have told you that when a particular letter or particular sound is repeated more than once, there we have the figure of speech named alliteration. And when a particular word is repeated more than once, it is the repetition. When someone says, Betty bought some butter, but the butter was bitter, so Betty bought some better butter to make the bitter butter better. Here we have the beautiful alliteration of B sound or B letter. Coleridge, in one of his poems, that is the Rime of the Ancient Mariner, says, water, water everywhere, and all the boats did shrink. Water, water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. Here, water, water everywhere. In the first line, the whole word water is repeated more than once. So here we have the figure of speech, that is repetition. R-E-P-E-T-I-T-I-O-N, repetition. And in the last line, but not a drop to drink. Here there is D sound in the word drop, and the same D sound is there in the word drink. So here the particular letter or sound, that is D, is repeated more than once, so there is alliteration here. Here in the poem, here in the line, only a live thing lifts my hand, L sound or L letter is repeated, so there is alliteration of L sound or L letter here in live and lips. So only a live thing lifts my hand, a queer, vichitra, strange. It doesn't mean that the poet has not seen the rat before. ऐसा थोड़ी हुआ होगा कि पोएट ने चूहा देखा ही नहीं होगा. It is for the first time that the poet is having a look of the rat in his lifetime. No. So many a times he might have seen the rat. But what for he is using the word queer? And after queer he says sardonic. Sardonic is not a word used in good sense or in the sense of positivity, you can say. It gives negative smell. Sardonic are those persons who think themselves superior to others, and they ignore the suggestions of others, thinking others inferiors. Of course, if you think yourself superior, you are bound to think, or you are bound to take others inferior. These two adjectives, queer and sardonic, used to qualify the noun rat. A queer, sardonic rat. The poet tells the rat sardonic or queer just because the rat seems to be restless to go to that side. That means to go to the German side. after touching the hand of the English soldier, that is the poet. And it is a battleground, it is a battlefield. And in the battlefield, there is no word like excuse. If there are two soldiers standing face to face, having the guns AK-47 in their hands, just with the task of killing each other, if it is a situation, it is not going to happen that if the one soldier says, excuse me, please don't kill me, excuse me, there is no word like excuse. Excuse शब्द नहीं चलता है युद्ध के मैदान में, in the field of war or battle. There, bullets are bound to make holes in their bodies. That is the battlefield. The poet knows what is the meaning of battle, what is the meaning of bullet, what is the meaning of war. But the rat doesn't know. Rat has nothing to know. What should it know? The poet suggests the rat not to go to that side, because if it goes to that side, that means the German side, to the German side, he is bound to lose his life, because the moment the German soldiers will get the smell of English soldier, they will take the rat to be their enemy, and he will be shot at. He will be shot dead. But still, it seems to the poet that the rat is not going to listen to his words or listening to his suggestions. He is insisting upon his own way of thinking. He will ignore the suggestion of the poet and will go to that particular side. Therefore, the poet uses here queer or sardonic for the rat. Dear students, that's all for today. This poem is very suggestive. It's very reflective, and I like this poem very much. I am fond of this poem. Therefore, when I go through the poem, I simply get lost to this poem. And it takes rather much time for in its completion. So that's all for today. You are requested to go through the poem on your own. Go through it. Try to understand it on your own. Send your suggestions through your comment. Your suggestions are always cordially welcomed. At the same time, if you have some problem or any problem, you can send your problems through your comments. I will try my level best to solve or to sort out your problems, so your problems are also be cordially welcomed. Thanks a lot for being with me or for bearing me for such a great period, for such a long time. Stay home, Stay blessed. Thank you. God bless you all.